to open your Rotary Events mobile app, search for the session under Schedule, click on the session and add it to your agenda. Now you are able to use our session's discussion channel and rate it when it's over. The topic that we are going to talk about is periods. Let's break the silence. And the major objectives of the Rotary Action Group is to give dignity to women and girls, to enable them to live a well, self-disciplined life, to have access to basic education and economic self-maintenance, to reduce menstrual waste and contribute to the environmental protection, create awareness on the sustainable sanitary products that are available, encourage the use of sanitary napkins and menstrual cups where possible and suitable, educate young boys, teenagers and men on periods, break the taboo and the stigma attached to periods. We do cover the 7 areas of focus, and in areas of the world, girls and women do not have access to hygiene articles such as tampons, sanitary napkins, and menstrual cup. Apart from that, they do not have access to clean water, no privacy, areas such as bathroom or lavatories. This leads to the girls and women staying at home while they are menstruating, and because they have nowhere to hide from public, they don't have access to clean products. Girls cannot attend school. They lose connections in means of education, and finally, giving up school completely. That's we're covering the basic education and literacy. They have no possibilities to earn a profession or earn their own money. Consequently, they survive. They are forced to get married at a very young age and are bound and forced and often into violent marriages. That's under the Peace and Conflict Resolution. During their marriage, they bear many children because they do not have access to birth control either. On one side, children means economic security for the future. On another, many pregnancies in the area of low medical care are a risk of life for these women. Women who do not have access to clean water and hygienic articles run significantly a higher risk of suffering disease and infection during their menstruation. We covered that under the disease prevention and treatment, maternal and child health. Women who do not work means a lack of gross income to a country. For example, in India, if we enroll just 1% of girls in schools, their GDP would rise by $5.5 billion. This is a source from www.thepadproject.org, what we do. We cover that under the economic and community development. To enable girls and women to continue their lives normally and in dignity during their menstruation and create opportunities for the future independence and safety. Access to lavatories with water supply and menstrual hygiene products is an essential, which we cover under water and sanitation. Girls and women use menstruation cups or biodegradable sanitary napkins or reusable, save tons of waste, which means a significant positive impact on the environment, which is the new area of focus, which is environment protection. Most menstruation pads or disposable sanitary napkins are 90% made of plastic, and plastic products can take up to thousands of years to decompose in landfills or in the ocean. And you can see here, plastic waste kills up to 1 million seabirds, 100,000 sea mammals, marine turtles, countless fish each year. Plastic remains in our ecosystem for many years, nearly 800 to 900 years, harming thousands of sea creatures every day. Even if we do walk around our own country, we walk around in the beach or the coast, we do see waste, and there's a lot of plastic waste. And this is harmful for not only sea mammals, but also for any other animals that are scavenging for food. 40% of girls remain absent from school during their menstruation. School absentees were significantly associated with the type of absorbents used, lack of privacy at schools where they don't have access to toilets, restriction imposed on girls during menstruation. This is where in certain cultures they are not allowed to go to school. They are told to remain in a certain area and no access to any basic necessity. Mother's education is very important, making sure that the mother educates her daughter with regards to periods and source of information on menstruation. It's also a very important one. The ideas that we can have is to encourage your circle of friends to use menstrual cups. As Rotarians, I think we can promote the using of menstrual cups, and I'm sure we all can afford to use them. Give them as part of a birthday gift. You could give a menstrual cup or a reusable sanitary pads as gifts. Speak to your colleagues at work, friends, your circle of friends. Write it on social media, speak about it, talk about it, and lastly, spread the word. Let's break the silence together. Thank you. Over to Dr. Meenakshi.
Thank you, Sharmila, for giving me this opportunity. I'm a gynecologist by profession, and that makes women's health my primary concern. As I retired, I realized that I had to do something with my knowledge, and menstrual hygiene became my passion, and Rotary gave me the opportunity to work on it. So improving women's well-being during periods is very important, because 65 days in a year into 40 years is how much we spend having our periods. So overview is single-use disposables are not good for our health, are not good for our pockets, and not good for the environment. The 21st century solutions are to a newly designed cloth pad and menstrual cup. It's available in the market, but there is not enough awareness about its use, and therefore women are reluctant to pick it up. As Rotarians, if we have done end polio, we need to be able to take up the new problem, which is end period poverty. Period poverty is there across all nations, whether developed or developing. It is there for all women. Somewhere down the line, in the last 50 years, it has been indoctrinated in us that the disposable sanitary napkin and the tampon is the safe thing to use for our periods, healthy thing to use for our periods. But in actuality, that is not the truth. As we discuss, we will find all the problems that we are facing because of these disposable products. With 50% of the population of 1.9 billion using disposable products, we have football fields worth of garbage coming in every day and going to the landfill. If we look at the evolution of pads down the years, when I started, they were fat, they were cotton, they were gauze wrapped. But as we evolved, the pads became thinner and they became 90 to 95% plastic. And what did they have in them? Nowhere does the pad say what are the contents of the pad. It actually has styrene, chloromethane, acetone, chlorethane, a whole lot of harmful products that are available. And there are adhesive chemicals, fragrances to hide the smell of the blood on the pad, there are pesticide residues, and dioxins and furans which are put on the pad to bleach it white. All of them harmful for us because the vagina is a mucosal area like our mouth, and it is so close to the pad, it absorbs all the substances in the pad, and that is how we land up into trouble. So, National Geographic carried a huge article about how pads have become unsustainable. when we look at the effects of the disposable pads and the tampons on our health, the most common thing is chaffing of the thighs when we wear the pads. It is E. coli because E. coli travels from the rectum to the urinary tract via the pad. There's imbalance of the bacterial flora, contact dermatitis, malodor, and the bulge of the pad, which is visible under the tight clothes that we wear. Tampons are no better. They're made of the same material. They don't have a sensor on it which says just absorb blood. It absorbs anything that is liquid and takes away the vaginal secretions also. And this interferes with the microbiome of the vagina. Infections like moniliasis and trichomonas are all there. And of course, in the 90s, we heard about the toxic shock syndrome, and few women who died of it before they removed the super absorbent tampons from the market. When we look at this, toxic shock syndrome was because women forgot to remove the tampon and kept it on for more than 24 to 48 hours. The bacteria grew on it, the Staphylococcus grew on it, and produced the toxins that went into the body. Medical grade silicone is, of which the tampons are in the menstrual cup are made of, is made of medical grade silicone, and it does not give a substrate on which the bacteria grow and produce toxins. So therefore the chance of getting toxic shock syndrome is much reduced or even non-existent if we remember to tell the user that you must remove the menstrual cup once in 12 hours, wash it and put it back into the vagina. Alright, waste problems are many. The commonest is that you flush the pad or the tampon into the sewage line through the pot, and it swells up 1:30 and blocks the drains. It then, if you don't do it and you throw it into the dustbin, it goes to the landfill and it is set on fire. When it is set on fire, it doesn't burn fully, and when it doesn't burn fully, it produces dioxins and furans that are transparent gases that go into the air and are not good for our health. Pads do not compose. They contaminate not only the groundwater and the soil, but they can contaminate the air also. And unhygienic conditions are what the waste pickers work with, because the pads are many times left open, and that's the problem that we all face. Impact on the health workers: they have respiratory tract infection and they have severe skin infection, and that is something that we should not be doing. They are also as human as we are. The sustainable solutions are two. The menstrual cup is made of medical grade silicone. The cloth pads are made of cotton, and there is just one layer behind, which is the PUL, polyurethane laminate, that prevents the blood from leaking onto the clothes that we are wearing. Cloth pads are for young girls, the adolescent girl from 10 years to 19 years, the teenager, and once they are married and once they start having intercourse, or once they are willing to understand their own body, they can start using the menstrual cup. So the menstrual cup is from age 18, 19 to age 50, which is 30 years. 3 menstrual cup over 30 years, and that's the little amount of garbage that you produce. Cloth pads are the solution, the new solution, very different from the traditional pads that all of us used to wear when we were younger. It has a leak-proof layer at the back. This is the leak-proof layer at the back, and the pad is connected to it in front. There are wings like the disposable pad, and this is tied at the back so that it's sticking to the panty, and it is very, very comfortable. A set of 5 pads will last 2 to 3 years, will cost you about, say, maximum of $10. And that $10 into 3, divided by 3 years, is very little money. The only thing that doesn't degrade is this. This breaks down and becomes part of the soil. Therefore, it produces little trash, and it saves about 450 pads from going to the landfill for each girl. It also is made by local self-help groups, women who stitch it and sell it and earn money. So it is part of the economic improvement of the community. And finally, washing it is the next question, is very easy. These cloth pads will be soaked in plain ordinary water, not boiling water, for 15 to 20 minutes. After it is soaked for 15 to 20 minutes, you crush it like this and squeeze it and allow the blood to all flow out. Then you wash it, and basically the important thing is to hang it in the sun. All of us in our younger days were ashamed of our periods, and we wouldn't hang anything that looked like a pad out in the sun. But now these just look like an ordinary napkin, and therefore it can be hung out in the sun without any worry about somebody else seeing it and therefore putting a curse on us. There are lots of myths about it. Alright? So basically, washing it and putting out in the sun is the most hygienic thing. You don't have to use any soap, no Dettol, no sanitizers. That sun is the most free thing that's available to all of us. Menstrual cups come in a variety of types and sizes. Menstrual cup just collect the blood. There is no change in the menstrual. Where did the cup go? Went away somewhere. Yeah. The menstrual cup just acts as a receptacle to collect all the blood that comes from the uterus into the vagina. And instead of collecting in the vagina, it now collects in the cup. Now you'd look at it and say, oh my God, how am I going to put such a big thing inside? You're not putting it like this. You're making it smaller, and now it's the size of a peanut. And then apply a little bit of lubricant, and if you are actually bleeding properly, this can go inside, slide inside, and open up inside. Once it opens up, the vagina opens up that much and forms a beautiful seal around the cup and doesn't allow any blood to come down. So, there is a learning curve for everything, whether it's ABCD or walking, there is a learning curve. There is a learning curve for this, and it requires about 2 to 3 cycles before you become comfortable in using this. The best thing is that if all of us can learn to use our mobile phones, we can learn to use this too. And tampon users have no problem in inserting something into the vagina, so they are also very comfortable using it. We are saying that the low-hanging fruit are all the women who are married, who have intercourse, and therefore they don't have the fear of putting something in the vagina. And women who have delivered, the head is that of a coconut size, and so just a lime size thing is not going to create any fear in them. Cleaning the cup is the next thing. Do I need to boil the cup? Do I need to sterilize the cup? Vagina is an unsterile organ. It doesn't need any assistance. It can take care of itself. And this is medical grade silicone, and no bacteria sticks to medical grade silicone. Our catheters are made of this, our heart stents are made of this. Medical grade silicone is completely inert. But you need to remember to remove it once in 12 hours. Don't leave it behind there. There are women who have forgotten it and then come to the doctor and say, doctor, for the last 3-4 days I'm having some vaginal discharge. If you forget it, you will land up with infection. If you don't forget it, you will not get any infection. And where do you store this between periods? After you wash it, you dry it, put it into a cloth bag that it comes in, and then keep it, according to me, with your jewelry, because it's necessary to find it when you need it. If you put it into your cupboard, it will be lost among your hundreds of clothes. Alright, so the next question people ask is, can I use it with the intrauterine contraceptive device? Because people have heard of the intrauterine contraceptive device going into the abdomen, and people are worried whether this cup will pull out the intrauterine contraceptive device. You can see that the thread is hanging there. But the negative pressure that this cup produces is very little. And therefore, when removing it, you have to actually press the bottom. There are grip lines there. Release the vacuum that it has produced and then pull it out, drop the blood, wash it and put it back again. So it will not remove the intrauterine contraceptive device. The other question that is asked is, if the blood is collecting in the cup, when I am sleeping, will the blood rise back into the uterine cavity? God has been very kind to us. He's made the exit from the uterus through the cervical canal a one-way track. No blood goes from the vagina into the uterine cavity. So whether it's the vagina or the cup, the blood stays outside. It won't go inside. So what are the advantages of the menstrual cup? Very easy to use, very easy to clean, requires very little water to clean, which is a great advantage for all of us people who are living in areas where there is less water. You feel squeaky clean, no feeling of wetness, no white discharge because it doesn't irritate the vaginal mucosa. It's a one-time purchase. I have put the Indian cost, but here in the US it costs about $35, and $35 is so much. Actually, if you divide it by 10 years, it's $3.50 per year, and that is far less than what you would pay for a packet of tampons or a packet of disposable sanitary napkins. Because it is used for over 10 years, it produces no trash, and we don't have to go looking around for dustbins. We can eventually stop providing dustbins in the bathrooms for sanitary wear. No need to wear an underwear. The nice part of it is all of us women who suffer from cramps during our periods, the cramps also reduce. Again, you don't have to remove the cup to pass urine or stools. Less frequent removals because the capacity of the cup is 15 ml as compared to the capacity of the pad and the tampon, which is 5 ml. So 3 times the capacity, so you can be rest assured you can use it. You remove it and wash it less number of times than is needed for the tampon or the pad. It's not affected by rain, very good for flooded areas and where it rains very heavily. And when you are trekking, walking, you can travel light. Carrying this in your purse is not going to occupy too much of space. Alright, so there are myths that are associated with it. Because people believe that the blood will go up, will endometriosis happen? Will my fibroid uterus become bigger? Will my polycystic ovaries, get exaggerated? Does the wearing of the vagina expand the vagina? Wearing of the cup expand the vagina? None of these things happen because this is just a receptacle in the vagina and it's collecting the blood. And the nice part of it is there is no smell because there is no bacteria that is coming into the cup to change the blood. The comparative health analysis, it's skewed, but to me it is skewed positively towards the menstrual cup and negatively towards the disposable products. The rashes are not there, foul odor is not there, itching is not present, and no contact dermatitis, no urinary tract infection, and no dryness of the vagina for the reusable ones. Again, disposal analysis, 75 pounds of waste will be produced by using disposable pads over 10 years, while only 1 cup will be used, and this is 15 grams of medical grade silicone. So, if this is the analysis that is shown, this many pads over 10 years, this many cloth pads, only 20, and this little cup here, which would you choose? To me, it's a no-brainer, I think. Okay, the 4-way test of Rotary. Is it the truth? Yes, it is. Is it fair to all concerned? Of course it is. If it's fair for the women, it's fair for the men too. Will it build goodwill and friendship? Yes, it will, because the women, 1.9 billion women, like the children, are now all so beholden to Rotary for the end polio. We will be beholden to them because they will end period poverty. And it will really bring peace, because if women are peaceful for 65 days in a year during their period time, the men will also be peaceful. So what can we as Rotarians do? We need to start using these sustainable products. We need to use them, because if you don't use them, you don't experience them. And if you don't experience the goodness of them, how will you talk to others? Now you look at my gray hair and tell me that, Meenakshi, you are menopausal. How did you experience it? I actually used it for half a day to understand what it is to insert it and remove it. Having done that, I was completely satisfied that it was doable by every woman. Convert those around you. If you are menopausal like me, talk to your children, your grandchildren, your daughter-in-law, and convert them. Think of projects through the sustainable menstruation lens. Do not give incinerators and do not give disposable pads. It's a waste of good money, Rotarian money. Don't do that. Identify communities that will have self-help groups that will make these cloth pads. The menstrual cup has to be made in the factory, but the cloth pad can be made locally, and the children that are there in school, the women, the girls especially, empower them to do it themselves also. Join hands with other clubs across the world to make this project happen. The shift to sustainable menstruation starts with us. Others don't need to start it. The impact on women's health, economy and environment is huge. Join us in making it happen. Total independence from period problems is what this reusable products promise. 90% of the expenditure is reduced and 95% of the sanitary waste is reduced. So what is it? This is a no rash, no cash, no trash program. Thank you for giving me a listening, and my colleague now will take over, and Ines will talk about the projects that we have done in the last 1 year since we have become a RAG. Thank you.
Well, good evening. Good afternoon. Yeah, of course. Now, after listening to such an incredible scientific explanation, I'm here to talk about the projects. The projects that are being carried out around the world on this topic. First and foremost, let me introduce myself. My name is Inés García. I'm from Argentina. I'm the treasurer of this Action group for menstrual health and hygiene. And this is a group that is barely a year old, but has traveled a long way. Let me tell you, when I meet these ladies who are thinking of serving other women in the way of health and menstrual hygiene, a passion awoke in me, and I was able to understand how, from Rotary, we can serve others. Serve to change their lives, and from that starting point is where I'm placed today. Okay, let's go to the projects. Look at this picture. This is in Argentina. The first project that I want to tell you about is the one that was a pilot test designed to be able to obtain certain results of the implementation. This project can be used as an example of a project to implement on other communities over the world, and can be used to teach clubs how to do a successful project in their clubs or in their communities. This was held in a city on the outskirts of Buenos Aires. We call it Project Rojas. The mentor of the project is the elected DG Virginia Hare, who is here among us. Hi, Virginia. She belongs to Rotary Club Rojas. Okay, a clap for Virginia, yes, of course. She belongs to Rotary Club Rojas, and another member of the club happens to be a well-known gynecologist. She is Dr. Josefina Porro. Rojas is a small city where you can work together with the municipality, and the project that was launched involved education, contact with health and gynecological medicine, and of course, it ended by giving the beneficiaries access to the sanitary products that will be impossible for them due to their poor situation and vulnerable situation. Along the project, women were asked if they wanted to participate in this project. More than the 90% agreed, and they were rich with a gynecological talk in which they were taught about the implications of good hygiene in feminine times. Measured in 6 stages, both Rotarians and health workers followed the results of a survey consented to by all the participants. They were asked about their home situation, age, if they had children, if they had been to the gynecologist at least once in their lives, what products they used in their periods, if they could afford them or not. Did they miss work? Did they miss classes? And after providing the caps, we asked, did you use it? How comfortable and practical it results? Are you willing to continue using it? The responses were so satisfactory that encouraged this Rotary Club to continue with this project during the year. Up to now, you know, there are more than 250 caps along the whole project. Caps, I mean women, of course. There's another pilot test that has been carried out. It is in prison. In this case, my Rotary Club, San Telmo Constitución, together with Rojas, ran it. We have reached women deprived of their liberty, who do not have access to menstrual hygiene products, if it is not by asking for them to the prison wards, and many times not having the money to pay for them, these women must pay with favors of all kinds. Education. Education is the pillar in this project, and in all those they have to do with the management of menstrual hygiene, health. While a medical accompanied us, and for many of them it was their first time in seeing one. The talk regarding the health implications of the misuse of sanitary products, together with clearly explanation about the female anatomy and what happens in their bodies each month, was listening with full attention. Then we move on to the explanation regarding the importance of a gynecological control. They were also asked to fill out a form consenting to use the data and their respective responses on this topic. In the end, we explained about the importance of saving the planet, of ecology, and how these caps and reusable pads impact in lower the trash in our planet. Finally, they were given the cup and the reusable pads, and the response was so satisfactory, they expressed their enormous gratitude for what Rotary was doing. And listen to this. Many asked, what is Rotary? They never have heard about us. So, do you realize the impact that it might have in our public image? In the next picture, we can see another prison. This project was done in Colombia by the Rotary Club of Sogamoso. They also went to jail with the caps, and they played games, and they played dances, and gave access to the product after a talk regarding the whole use of menstrual management. Also in Colombia, but now talking about the topic in schools, it is so important for these girls to be included in the system, not to stay at home anymore by receiving these reusable pads that last about 2 years. Now again, education is the platform from where everything starts. Good work, Colombia. I love this picture. Here we can see Denise Christian. Denise is here between us. She's a member of the board of this RAG, but also an active member of her Rotary Club in Ibiza. How nice, yeah. Ran a project thinking on the nurses and some other women in the public health that were working so many hours without resting during the COVID situation. With help of Caritas Spain, they gave access to the caps to all those women and a triptych with a brief explanation on the benefits of their use. Here is the USA, Rotary Club Roseville, another possibility of this incredible topic, helping young women by giving reusable cloth bags that were made by the ladies of the club. There is the hand of days for girls. And now we come to India. India. As our RI President Sheikh Ahmed has said, many projects were done creating awareness on the girls and young ladies, giving access both to the caps and the cloth bags. You can look at the happy faces of all those girls. Don't you feel inspired? I will read the last slide. So, if you want to do a project, when doing a project, never forget awareness, counseling and education of girls and boys to ensure a proper understanding of the phenomenon of menstruation for better acceptance and better adaptation. Selective distribution of reusable products in communities that include schools and marginalized girls and women. Reduce pollution of the environment, soil and water due to the elimination of menstrual waste. And use the cost-benefit analysis that Dr. Meenakshi has shown us, so there's no table below this slide. Yeah? Okay. And compare it versus reusable pads to demonstrate the value of reusable products. We want to join us. Rotary Action Group for Menstrual Health and Hygiene. Here you have our contact. Thank you very much for being there and listening to this explanation. It's the question and answers? Yeah. Okay, it's up to you.
Do you want to come forward to ask the question?
You want a mic there?
Yeah, there's a mic.
Excellent presentations, learned a lot, appreciate it. I have one question. I teach health to school children in India, grade 6, 7, 8, middle school. My question is, if I include in my curriculum a topic on use of cups in the menstrual health, let's say we're talking about grade 7, I think that is probably a good time to introduce that. My concern is when these children are going to go home and the mother will ask, what did you learn today? the girl will say, well, I learned about cups. And obviously, I don't think the adults are educated about cups. So I feel there's going to be a certain amount of resistance from the mothers in terms of use of the cup. We can educate the children, but unless we educate the parents, I don't think behavior change can occur. So my question is, what is your experience in working with schools so that you can influence the children, the future mothers? Do we talk to the mothers first and then talk to the children? How do we do this? What's your experience?
We talk to the mothers first.
So how do you talk to the mothers of a school child first? I mean, you have to get them into a captive audience. Not easy. It's not a community health program. The children are captive in the school. You can talk to the children. It's part of the curriculum.
We ask them to come during their parent-teacher meeting, and that's when we go and do it. And again, the cloth pad making program is such that we have 10 women who make pads, but 20 women who take this message into the community. And those are the people who will, the low-hanging fruit for us is women 20 plus. Once they have learned and they enjoy using the cup during their periods, they will then convey it to the younger generation. So our captive audience is not just the girls, our captive audience is the women between 20 and 50.
Well, maybe I'm not following that. We can train them, but not every mother. If I'm teaching a class 6 student class and there are 100 students, I'm not going to be able to get all those 100 mothers. Okay, maybe I'm missing the point.
We go into the community, so every village or every few sets of villages will have 10 women who will stitch these cloth pads and 20 who will go take the message into the community. They will then sell the product, they will answer the questions, and that is the way. So that's the way to spread it. So I told you, the low-hanging fruit are the women who are menstruating.
Right, okay. So here's a follow-up. I'm sorry, I know there are other questions, but I just want to be very clear because I write the curriculum myself. I write the books myself, and I need to include a chapter on this. So the second option is not to talk about the cups, but to talk about your cloth
pads.
Yeah. So you're recommending as a first step, go with the handmade cloth pads. Do not talk about the cups.
That's for the mothers and the teachers. That's for the mothers and the teachers.
Oh, I see. Not for the young
I'd like to
girls.
ask you a question.
Yes, please.
I'm from India.
Yes.
I'm from Chennai, and we do this at Chennai.
Yes, please.
I'm from India, and we have done extensive programs in Chennai, the city of Chennai, for example. We teamed up with the corporation. We've been to the corporation schools. We first educate the educators, the teachers. As a second step, since they get convinced, we get the parents in through the Parents and Teachers Association. And as a third step, we speak to the students. So by which time the environment is seeded, they're aware of what we are trying to do, and they're kind of on board. Because if the child suddenly goes and says, I want to use a cloth pen, they wouldn't even know where to look for it. So we start the process with the educators first, then we go to the parents, and then we do the teachers. And by and large, we've found that people are interested in coming and finding out when it's to do with health. So we don't tell them menstrual health, we try to tell them that we want to talk about girls' health, and they do come in, girls and boys, adolescents. So they do come in and they are interested, and when we speak to them, they become aware, and it is possible. Yes, cloth pads is difficult to sell as a concept because we are all used to convenience. But we find that young girls are more open than people like us. So we just need to shed our biases and go after it.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, ladies. Very informative. Much obliged for you being here. Well, that was one of my questions, so thank you for answering that. The other question I had, the reason I came in here is because my son-in-law is doing his PhD on women's cycle, and there's only 2 in Canada that were able to work with him because it's not a known fact. Because being a doctor, he's a young doctor, of course, I'm the mother-in-law, he is getting a lot of girls coming in with infections and all of this, so he decided this is what he needs to do. So I said to my husband, we need to take this workshop so we can explain it to him, and I will send the information. But my question was silicone with the infections, because I'm allergic to silicone, and in that case, have you done studies on that, doctor? And what would you suggest then? Just going to the pad, or?
Very few people will have allergy to silicone, because you remember we have a stent, the stent that we put into our heart is also made of silicone.
Yes.
The catheter that we use is also made of silicone. So very few, 1 in a million will have allergy. So you are rare.
Yeah. Well, there are some out there. Thank you. But it's all about education, as you mentioned. So my third question was, because of this education, third world countries you're trying to sell this to, correct? The hygiene is very low, and these girls really have to be taught. And I want to bring this to my club as well. As past president, I'm picking up some different projects. They need to know how this hygiene works with cleaning, etc., in detail, because I've been to those countries and it's not talked about, first of all, to even wash your hands after you go to the washroom, let alone cleaning a cup. So I just want to know how you would educate them on that matter.
So basically, if you look at the cup only contains blood. Now, most people will ask us, if there is no hygienic water, how do they manage? My contention is, if you're using whatever water you have for brushing your teeth, and you're not dying of infection just because you brushed your teeth, then the same water can be used to wash the cup. If you don't have any water to wash the cup, just drop the blood and put it back into, because it's a body fluid and it won't do you any harm. The vagina, as I said, is an unsterile organ, and it can take care of its cleanliness without any problems.
Thank you, and thank you for your presentation today.
So thank you for your presentation, that was great. So I'm about ready to submit a global grant for doing, we call them the Thrive pads, which are the reusable pads that are going to be manufactured in Uganda in some of the refugee camps and girls empowerment centers and that sort of thing. So we're more or less ready to go once we get a little more funding, if anybody's interested. So who should I talk to you about looking at our grant to see if we have all our act together?
We have had one grant which has come to us for 40,000, which has been approved. I mean, $40,000. And that grant, I think he's here. It would be good to talk to him, and you would be able to, figure it out. On a one-to-one, if you do that, it takes some more time than just the 5 minutes that we have left with.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Thank you. And we'll be happy to do whatever we can from our side, from the RAG.
Thank you very much. I want to tell you that after I've lived 77 years, I thought I had heard of everything, and I had never heard of this. And I did not expect to come and find out something, that you figure as a female you would have at least heard of. And so I'm one of those. But my other thing is more of a comment, and that is the work that I do. I frequently will have homeless women come into my office looking for sanitary products, and I can literally go broke trying to furnish that. And so I am thrilled. That's all. Thank you.
Well, thank you, girls. because the presentation was excellent. Also, I'm from Argentina. You saw me in the project that I introduced in my community, in my Rotary Club. And I think that this topic will reach in each community. It depends on our culture. So I want to share with you that we start with women, but in the second meeting we have girls of 12 years old. And they try to use it, and since the second meeting we have always young people. Wow. And in our society it is really very useful to train the girls since 6, 7, 8 years old. But it depends on our culture. We are a Latin American country. We should solve this problem, but I wanted to share with you that we have that experience and it works very, very well. Also, we have 3 sizes, but the doctor, which is the ones that we show you, is 36 years old, and she explained to the mothers and the girls that is a myth that you can introduce anything in your vagina. So she teaches all the girls that they can use it and it doesn't hurt them. So that's what I want to give to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the amazing presentation. I have learned a lot. I am Juren Sonyango from Kenya. I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Kisumu Mashariki, but I'm also a member of the Rotary Club of Global Passport in District 6330. Thank you. I am a champion back in Kenya, and I like to have discussions with rural girls about their menstrual health management hygiene. And I have gone over and above to support several girls in Kenya with the disposable. But recently I received some support from my Rotarian friends in Canada, and we have rolled the cloth pads, the washable one. And we've intertwined it with water technology, where we're using the sun to treat water and have the girls use it. Because the biggest problem was that we did not have water. So my comment here is to invite the RAG, because I've been waiting for a long time for a RAG that would address menstrual health hygiene issues. Just to have, to welcome you to Kenya so that we can do some of the amazing work that I've seen here. Also rolled out to Kenya where the period poverty is very huge. The myths there are huge about the cups. People say it causes infection. People say it's made of silicone that when you introduce to your vagina has several other cancer-causing chemicals. So when you have this information down to the people and disseminate it as widely as we can and do away with some of these myths, this will help us to move forward with the good work that we have started. Thank you so much and welcome to Kenya.
We are happy to do Zoom calls with anybody because that's the fastest way to reach. By the time any one of us reaches Kenya, it's a long time. You set up a Zoom call within a month and it'll work.
We have only 2 minutes. A few more questions to take. Please go ahead.
I work with a food pantry in the United States, and one of the biggest requests that we get is do you have pads, do you have tampons? Has this been done and from Michigan? So when you said you have to dry them in the sun, you know, we would freeze them in the sun or a big chunk of the year. So I'm just wondering if this has been done in the United States to try and introduce, especially into some low-income communities. How do we do this? I mean, have there been, I know there's period underwear and things like that. I'm just wondering if we've done that there.
Should we work in a dryer?
We can move.
Yes, it will
works in
work.
a trial. Yeah, no problem. So we have a small little dance, but you can ask your questions. Sir.
Please, let's wait. Please go ahead with your question.
Okay, I'll try to be quick. I'm working in Zambia, and our primary focus is nutrition to prevent stunting. However, we've become aware recently, of course, that girls as young as 13 are becoming pregnant, and we think this should be addressed because these women, according to our sources, tell us they don't know how to feed babies. So we're establishing a girls' club, and they're going to incorporate boys. And one of the issues we want to deal with is the issue of menstruation. We've been given some sanitary hygiene kits from Midwest Medical, but I don't know for sure whether they're sustainable. I think maybe they are, but can we contact you to find out if these things work? And I'm concerned about the sustainability of them.
Sure, no problem. That is the email address that you can reach out to me. Do drop me an email and we can take this conversation.
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of the discussion because of the long-term, or the session, general session went over.
No problem. Thank you very much. We do have a booth. Our booth is 932. And imagine if we all change to this cup, how much we can save the environment. So imagine, go beyond that. And before we go, I would also like to introduce my board, incoming board, Denise, Vidya, Nana. So we have Vidya, who's the vice chair from India. We've got Denise, who is from IDITA, Spain. She's the secretary. We've got Veronica, who is the regional director for Mexico. We've got Inés, who is the treasurer from Argentina. We've got Dr. Meenakshi, who is the medical director from India. Nana, please step forward. She's one of our regional directors from Ghana. And also Ergado, who is a past district governor who has been helping us and supporting us, who will also be one of our regional directors in Argentina and supporting us in the South American region. And finally, before we end the session, thank you for attending this breakout session. And if you have downloaded the Rotary Events mobile app, please complete a quick 4 questions session evaluation. It will give us a valuable feedback and help the staff plan future conventions. You will also find links in the app to download presentations and resources from this session. Thank you very much. Before we go, we thought we'll do a little dance to create the awareness there is. So we're going to leave that to Dr. Meenakshi.
You can join us.
You can join us too.